Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at the SIG Pro or SP2022. It's a very interesting pistol. It's sort of one of the first for SIG. If we want to go back in time a little bit to the 90s, when you consider that the flagship of SIG was the model P229 40 S&W. Aluminum frame, stainless steel slide. This was the original 229 is what you see here in 40 S&W. Now, prior to this, before the 40 S&W came out, the SIG P228 was the flagship, 226, which were the full-size 9mm. They also utilized a sheet metal type slide with a pinned-in breech block. The SIG 229 was the first one made in the USA, and the slide was manufactured out of a single block of stainless steel. And the first one was the P229 chambered in 40 S&W. After that was introduced, the P228 pretty much became obsolete when the P229 and 9mm came out. Now, the 9mm is exactly the same thing you see here, with a different cut, obviously, for the breech face for the 9mm, and a significant amount of weight taken out of the slide. Now, also, this was converted into the 357 SIG by just changing out the barrel, because the 40 caliber and the 357 SIG are based off of the 40 caliber cartridge case. You can use the same magazine and the same slide, you just needed a different barrel for a 357 SIG. So now we're going to come around 1998. For as far as cost was concerned, SIG pretty much... Well, I would say it's a very safe assumption to say that they price themselves out of the market for the average police department. The SIG 229 generally had a retail of around $1,000, and it wasn't much less for law enforcement. Now, that's not saying SIG didn't have law enforcement contracts. They had some major law enforcement contracts with the federal government, such as ATF, the Secret Service, for instance. There were several federal agencies that did carry them, but as far as the regular law enforcement agencies, it was just generally out of their budget. So SIG set out to make a pistol that was going to be more economical. They were going to make a more affordable pistol, and they were going to introduce themselves into the polymer pistol market. A couple interesting things about the SP2022 or the SIG Pro. Initially, it was developed in 40 caliber, and it was SIG's first polymer frame pistol. It was also the first pistol that was manufactured and designed, now I say designed, mind you, in the United States. It was not designed in Switzerland or in Germany. So this was the first U.S.-made pistol. It was certainly designed as an economical and more lightweight alternative to, the flagship P229. Now, the SIG Pro is very similar to that of the standard SIGs in the fact that it utilizes a decock only. This is a double single action, very much the exact same as the P229 or the previous pistols. You see here we have an extended slide stop, then you have the decocking lever, as we see right here. Now, magazine release is located in the same location. It's a little bit larger than the previous. Drop it out. What we have here is a steel magazine which holds 12 rounds of 40 S&W. The sights, as you see on here, are just white dots. Certainly, like any other SIG pistol, you could get tritium night sights or any kind of a SIG Pro type night sight if you so chose. And you also see we have a 1913 rail on the bottom of here as well, which SIG probably towards the introduction of the P229. Made in the USA, you started seeing later, probably a few years later, you saw the addition of 1913 rails on there as well, on the 229s. This happens to be an early 229. This was the one that I prefer, the original one without the 1913 rail. This is prior to all these flashlights and stuff that you put on your pistol. It makes it more appealing to law enforcement to be able to have this capability for flashlights, lasers, and whatnot. As we previously stated, like any other SIG, you have the decocker. Now, looking again at the trigger mechanism, your first shot's the long-drawn double-action trigger pull. And with the SIG, that spec is probably about 10 pounds. And then on the single action, you're looking around 4 to 4.5 pounds. We also have available in this pistol a double-action only, which SIG offered that variation as well. It was very good for law enforcement because they wanted the consistent double-action trigger pull. Myself, I was never fond of the double-action only pistols with the full hammer. I did like the single action. The reality is the main benefit to this is you have a double strike capability. Meaning if you fire and it goes click instead of bang, you have the ability to pull the trigger again to do a double strike on that primer. Where with all your modern striker-fired guns, you don't have that opportunity. But generally, once that goes click, you're generally going to want to wreck that round out anyways. So this is a full-size, duty-size pistol. Again, we have a stainless steel slide, and we have a nitron finish slide and barrel. Now, there's 3 different versions of this. As we first said, you had the first model that came out was the 2022 in 40 S&W. And then came the 327 SIG, which is the model SP2340. And then you had the later, or the last variation that was put out was the 9mm, which is the SP2009. We're going to go over this a little bit more. We're going to take it apart, and you can see how everything looks. Now, like any other SIG, we're going to pull that. You have to pull back to this notch to line up, like so. Pop right out, and the slide's going to go right off. And underneath, we're going to pull the recoil spring out. Another aspect with this departure from the standard SIG design, as you see here, we have a flat recoil spring as compared to the braided recoil springs that we normally see on the SIG pistols. And then, as I stated before in many other videos, the flat recoil spring is much stronger than the standard rocket wire. However, you have to understand the amount of space you have on a P229 for it to house the spring guide and recoil spring is very limited. So if you were to use a rocket wire, you would have a very short spring that would wear out very, very quickly. So by utilizing the braided springs on the P226, 225, 228, 229, and so forth, they were able to strengthen that spring up majorly by having anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 coils. So they have a little bit more room on here and are using a very heavy-duty flat wire spring here. So I would say overall this is a little bit stronger spring than many of the other pistols would have in it. Standard barrel assembly. And like any other SIG product or any other modern pistol, we do have the passive firing pin block, which again is the most important safety any firearm can have, or any pistol can have. And you also see that your extractor is all internal. It's not external at all, much like that of a 1911. Now looking at the frame, polymer. We have the steel rails that slide rides on your ejector. And you can see here you have your arm here. When the trigger is pulled all the way to the rear, this lifts up and disengages the firing pin safety. It's a fairly heavy-duty polymer. The overall feel of it is certainly not too bad. I tell you, when you compare this to the original P229, the P229 just feels wonderful. I mean, it's just ergonomically, it's beautiful. This is definitely not the gun that the P229 is, but for what its intent and purpose is, it certainly accomplishes that. For reassembly, drop the barrel back into place. Now you do have a little button on here that fits into a notch on the face of the locking surface on here. Now we're going to insert that onto the frame. We're going to start the slide stop, pull the slide to the rear, and then engage it into the notch. And there we have it. So the specifications on this are, for as far as the barrel length, we got a 4.6-inch barrel. We have an overall length of 7.4 inches. We have a width of 1.4 inches, a height of 5.7 inches, and an overall weight of 29 ounces. The MSRP on this one is only $568 compared to the $1,087 that it was for the P229. Now, ammunition, before we go to the range, I want to talk a little bit about the ammunition. SIG has come out with their own ammunition line. This was probably around the same time the XM17 project was going on. One of the requirements was they had to have their own source of ammunition. SIG decided to diversify into several different markets. This would include firearms, ammunition, optics, as well as like the tactical lights and so forth. And their line of ammunition has turned out to be pretty high quality in my opinion. I've used quite a bit of it. For this pistol here, I utilized the 40 S&W 180 grain full metal jacket. I actually had 200 rounds of this that I test fired through this pistol. And they also have their own Elite V-Crown, which is a jacketed hollow point, which is another very high-quality round that will be very suitable for duty use and self-defense. And as I said, I've used quite a bit of this ammunition over the last, I'd probably say 2 years, whether it be in pistol or rifle. They make a full complement in SIG ammunition for 380, 940, 45, 38 Special, 37 Magnum, 44 Magnum, and so forth. And the V-Crown as well. The high-performance hollow points, they do a very good array as well. If I recall, 380, 9mm, 40, 45, 37 SIG, 38 Special, 37 Magnum. So they have a full line of that as well. So, they certainly provide you with a full solution. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the range and we're going to see how this shoots. Now, reliability is typically what you would expect from SIG. 100% reliable. Again, we fired about 250 or so rounds through this thing. Accuracy, it's a combat pistol. For as far as its group size, it didn't group as well as my 229 did. My 229, for some reason, it would put the holes right in the center. So this was probably, at 15 yards, I was probably looking at about a 2-inch, 3-inch pattern. I don't really get too concerned about that because then again, this is a combat pistol. This is not a target pistol. The day that I had this out, I also had SIG's brand new P210, which we're going to be seeing another video out. And you want to see the difference between a combat pistol versus a target pistol. You had all your rounds within with around an inch or so with the P210 with 9mm, where this one here you're looking at 2 to 3 inches. It goes to show there's a difference between a combat pistol versus a target or a match pistol. There's been some very prestigious military contracts. This pistol was chosen by the Iraqi Multinational Security Transitional Command, as well as the Swiss police. And there's been several other police departments throughout the world who've gone with it as well. Because again, it is SIG quality with the reliability and durability of the flagship pistols with a lightweight, lower cost alternative. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, even better, share it. Thank you.